action, and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 254. It is 17th of June 2024, and I'm frozen. If you're watching video version, I'm frozen.
Now you're frozen.
I'll fix this during my summer vacation for sure, or at some point during summer. Now, in the PnP Weekly, I was to look at the latest on Microsoft 365 platform areas, and typically we have a visitor in place, and we go to weekly articles together with your co-host. My name is Vesa Juvonen, your co-host. This doesn't make any sense. I'm really bad at this. After 254 episodes, this just...
You have only one more to go because then we're running out of bytes. So
yes. That's true. That is true. That is true.
Yeah, we need to change it maybe to uint or like have a bigger number.
True. Yes. Begins. So my name is Vesa Juvonen, and I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas, and with me as a co-host.
Hey everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz, and I am developer advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
You had a pause as well. Heading to summer vacation time. So this will be our last episode before we will be on a break for, I would estimate, 6 weeks or something like that. 6 to 7 weeks.
And as we go to find more bytes.
Yes, we need to find more bytes. But yeah, on the Northern Hemisphere, depending on where you're located, that might be a familiar term or maybe not, but in the Northern Hemisphere, as in the side of US and Europe, in the northern side of the globe, the summer vacations are coming. I'm watching your face.
It's like in Northern Hemisphere, like north. So yes, Northern Hemisphere is in the north.
No, but people don't necessarily understand what it means.
What means Northern Hemisphere or northern is the upper side of the globe?
Yes, upper side of the globe. That's much more understandable too. It's a summer vacation period coming, so we'll be on a break, and I think our vacations are not overlapping significantly, which means that they're queuing up, and that's why we'll be out for quite a long time. But hey, it is what it is. It's really important also charge the batteries, and it's one of those things.
If anything else, it's good for people to have a break from us, so that they can think through, as opposed to being.
That's a good way of approaching this, 100%. Now, this time we do have a visitor. We already recorded the interview, and our visitor is
Mr. Adam Wójcik. He is a MVP, an open source maintainer from Poland, and we had a great chat with him about his journey, about his involvement, like how he set the first steps into open source because it can be intimidating, you are there in the open contributing code. So how do you go about it? How do you go from, doing your first PR to all the way to maintaining a project or even creating your own? And what does that mean, especially if you are experienced with projects, to work on a product? So we had a great chat with that. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview.
Excellent. Let's get moving on the PnP Weekly show. So welcome, Adam, on the PnP Weekly episode. Which one is this? Well,
254, according to my notes.
254. That's really good.
Nice.
And actually, I had yesterday whatever memory from Facebook from 2016 where we were doing some sort of a recording, which is pretty horrifying to think.
Oh, yeah. Which is an interesting thing, right? Because we have one more episode left, and then we are running out of bytes, which is probably why you're taking off vacation, and we might not be able to resume because there's no episodes left.
To figure it out, right?
Yes.
Back then in 2016, it was a SharePoint Dev Weekly, right? So
that is correct. Yes. Wow. So
you could drop those and have additional bytes to go on.
I don't think we had a episode number at that time. So it was more on webcasts. We were recording those on a weekly basis on SPFS development, by the way, if I remember correctly.
And then we started already from the first go.
I think this is a different show. It's just the same dudes. It's getting old.
So
it's been 84 years.
Exactly.
A typical thing when you lose a budget for a product and the owners don't change, but the product naming change, and you have a new budget.
Exactly. Rebranding.
You don't want to go there. Let's not talk about product.
Yes, that's product internal Microsoft internal discussion. So let's not go there. Now, Adam, let's start with basics. Who are you and what are you doing for a living? So just a quick recap. This is focusing on you, not on us.
Okay, perfect. So, hi everybody. My name is Adam, and I'm a father of a really awesome kid, and I'm a simple dev, just coding, do the rabba on the keyboard and stuff happen, That's what I do. So be prepared for a boring interview.
No, anything
No.
but. So
Don't set up the scene in the wrong way.
You're building cool tools. You're building you're maintaining CLI for M365. You're building the SPFX extension, the CLI Visual Studio Code extension. Just the other day, you toured Netherlands and everything in between to talk about the cool stuff you do. So I think there's a little bit more to it.
Yep.
I still have the bags unpacked with me, to be honest. Still waiting for this free time, free time to do other stuff,
Yes.
Let's actually go a bit back in a time, because we need to clearly tease out some talk points from you, Adam, which is fine. How did you get involved in the community? So you actually started contributing on a community. Why did you get involved? Nowadays, you're maintaining multiple open source projects, but let's get back on that one in a second. So,
to be honest, I think it was my urge to learn and probably maybe give back. Back in those days, I was a bit younger, of course, and like now, I was also a freelancer, so self-employed and doing many contracts. And I think when one contract interview I had, I didn't have much to offer for it, and it didn't work good, so I started, it was the back in the days when it was SharePoint 2010, 2014, the on-prem world, basically, right? So, and then 2016 and the modern experience jumped in, and I didn't have this experience yet with me, so that's why I brought this urge. Okay, I need to catch up, I need to learn. And at the time I was really busy, so I was always busy. I always had like 2 or 3 contracts, so it's changed not so long ago. When I became a parent, now I have only 1 contract, so I'm like bored all the time, right? And basically, I think one of the shows or things that started was actually with this show. But as I said at the beginning, it was the SharePoint Dev Weekly, something like this. You didn't have also the guests; you had only the articles. And for me, it was perfect kind of thing to have a quick catch up, and the things that were interesting for me to get involved, to check out. And start using them in my work, and leveraging them. And why I started contributing on sourcing, I think it was, it's just you have the feeling if you use something that's helping you at work and help you earn money, you have this urge to give it back. But sometimes when someone asks me, even from my company lead or something like this, why open source, why would you contribute and stuff like that? I mean, show me your project and I will show you your open source dependencies. It doesn't matter if it's a NuGet or using NPM. All of the largest projects now usually have something that is done by the community or community-driven product, and usually they don't know about it. It's just a shame,
Sure.
But it's getting more and more attention, and it's really awesome to see even companies not only contributing, sponsoring, because maybe it's not all about money, but contributing time of their employees to give back, to have this time. And it's really awesome to see this movement that people are trying to think that, hey, maybe without open source, this could be a bit more harder, or we would be reinventing the wheel, or something could be done better by someone from the other place of the world who's a specialist in this. And we don't have the specialist here with us, but he done it, so we can use his work and then give back a bit, maybe help him contribute or whatever, right? So that was my, I ran my own self-employed freelancer kind of thing, and this was what I had. I used those open source things and I wanted to contribute back, At first, usually I contributed samples. That is the easiest thing you do, and the most thing you do at work, so it's easy to contribute back, web part samples or script samples and stuff like that. And only later I found this confidence to maybe I could try to build up some tooling, something like this. At the beginning you're always afraid if the thing you want to contribute is good enough. I think everyone has this.
Not everybody has that. Some people has that. It's a cultural thing. So there's different regions and it's a different thing. But I think it's what you said is super important from a industry success perspective as well, related on the fact that let's not build competing, individual spin-offs here and here and here. Rather, let's try to consolidate that knowledge and the work to for example, one single, thing what people can use. We have multiple examples, even in Microsoft 365 area, related on super classic example, the provisioning engine. Why would you have your own provisioning engine versus using the one which we have hundreds of people contributing to? So of course you can always fork that and do your modification, but then that has implications as well. So, and multiple other open source projects out there which are coming from the same perspective, PnP PowerShell, CLI for Microsoft 365, and so on. So,
well, I think it is an interesting point, because like there is a pro and con to every approach, right? Like
absolutely.
like it sounds easy and tempting to say, like, why build something from scratch? Let's take something else, especially in open source that isn't owned by a company. Well, there is the caveat that the owners will stop, and you have unmaintained thing that you haven't built and you don't know the source of, right? So then you are left with kind of like the egg in your face, like, okay, now what? You know, and also if you take something off the shelf, there's a chance that it's also doing 10 other things that you don't need for your thing, meaning if you need to change something, you now need to take care of those other things too.
And also, if you buy a service from an ISP or a partner, or buy a component or from a company which is not open source, that company can go under or change or disappear as well. Because I remember when I was still doing consulting for Microsoft and for Microsoft customers, and that we have multiple cases where customer had bought something, you know, as a solution to their intranet or M365 from a partner which does not exist anymore. They had no idea where it went, who they are. They didn't have source code. So at least the open source have the, you know, again, one of the key benefits is that the source is open. So right. you can access that rather than, you know, analyzing at some point that, okay, so what do we need to modernize? Okay, this solution is widely used. Where is the source code? We don't have it. Okay, does the provider still exist? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And this can go on and on. You know, there are many pros and cons. Of also, security risks was one of I heard many times for open source, that if somebody doesn't get paid for it, maybe he doesn't do this job as well. It's like hobby, and it's more security risk proven. I think it's not true, actually. Totally, I think it would be exactly opposite. But there is this way of thinking that if it's open, if it's for free, and we're not actually sure how many other dependencies it has, maybe it may introduce some open security risks to our product. So they won't. Let's not use it and build our own. So on top of that, I was actually building a provisioning engine to promote as well.
Crawl has never built.
Yeah, everybody
was
raise your hand. Throw the first rock.
Yes.
The age of intranets, right? And this is where everyone had their own best provisioning engine. You know, us also does set colors, you know.
It's much better than the other one. It has blah blah blah. So
we don't open source it because it's so good, you know.
So no promises, but there is now finally an ongoing internal initiative in Microsoft to rethink the whole provisioning end-to-end as a first-party experience. We'll see if we actually get there. Because the challenge, and now we're recording even this, so it's okay. So we get a bit, you know, open the curtains what's happening within the Microsoft. But there's a how would I put it? It's been really interesting discussion to have, because people are like, of course, we need to build a proper one, first-party supported, and then we start evaluating, you know, features and capabilities. Like what's in the product, what's not in the product, what's in the PnP provisioning engine, and people freak out. They're absolutely like, oh my God, it has all of these features, really? Yeah,
but I mean, like it's really easy to because like on the surface, it doesn't seem like much. Like you click a button, you have a template, and you create a cell. Like how hard can that be? And then you get into the long tail of stuff and dependencies, and well, if you want to create a page with an image on it, where's that image coming from, and what's the URL, and you need to have a GUID. Where's the GUID coming from? And you're like, the long-term tail of things, and you're like,
and that doesn't really change.
And years of work going in there, right? Like you don't just replicate that.
And it's not just, you know, we're using provisioning as an example. It's not just specifically the provisioning. This is a classic challenge with open source and company features, first-party support, SLAs, and all of that stuff. It's an interesting dynamics. But then again, if the open source transition or the movement would not have happened within the Microsoft 365, which luckily it did, I don't think we would be as far as we are with the ecosystem and customers adapting.
100% agree on that.
Well, I mean, so on the flip, right? Because you could also make an argument, and that is, I don't know if that is the dangerous discussion to have here right now. Is it the right venue and time? You can make another point. Why not keep open source what is open source, to keep the velocity and because like there's always a risk, like if we take something that is open source, bring it into product, then that becomes
100%.
a third-party
Yes.
dependency that is subject
Absolutely.
to physics and plans and priorities and whatever. Whereas open source, we already know it's been working for a long time.
Yeah.
So what if we spend the time and energy on driving the awareness and supporting open source so that it can thrive, as opposed to bringing things over and making it not open source?
But 100%. So again, there's multiple, opinions on this one in the company of Microsoft as well. A lot of internal politics. So the way I'm trying to push this through, and now we're recording everything. It's okay, but it's my approach. I would love to have this as a, like the provisioning engine, something else as a real exercise in Microsoft 365 where we move into the .NET Foundation style. So we actually build stuff together with the community.
So it remains open source.
It will be open source, but Microsoft is more involved, not owner necessarily, but more involved and provides resources. Because right now we're in this a bit of a strange situation where engineering tries to stay away from the open source because they don't want to actually contribute, because then they feel that there's a certain level of expectation, which is not the case with all of the engineers and all of the teams. It's a bit of a, PnP PowerShell actually gets contributions when certain features grows, because it's the easiest way to manage stuff in the. But it's an interesting. I think sooner or later, as part of this transition, as we're getting more mature, we need to, as a Microsoft, we need to also think on, okay, what does this actually mean, and how do we should be doing this in the future? Is this something where we openly say that, hey, we will stay away from that? They will do their things. We'll just provide APIs and all of that, which is an absolutely valid option. But there has to be this planning thought through, and the provisioning and the M365 templating, solution templating, all of that is right now internally ongoing to make those decisions, which is great. Now, will we ever make that decision? Not currently. So yes.
Anyway, so on that side, let's leave that be for a second. Let's get back to our agenda.
Yeah. Move on.
Adam, you said that you started your community works originally within samples, because that was kind of like the low-hanging fruit for you to contribute to something that you intuitively already did and you wanted to help out there. How did you take the next step towards some more, let's say, involved work, like contributing product source code to things like CLI and other things you do?
So this would be a great guidance. I'm just going to say this because Adam asked me about this one just last week when we had the chat. So how would an MVP and other MVPs and community members get more closely involved? What happened for you? How did you do that?
Well, it's a really good question. But basically, how I jumped from samples to contributing to products and tooling, I think it was also my urge to learning as well, for example, I picked CLI because I never did like CLI kind of stuff using TypeScript. It was like a new concept for me. And back in those days, I needed to prep and work on my JavaScript, TypeScript skills. So, okay, I said, why not learn this project and see how it goes and try to add some small things, start with small, tiny details, and then improve and take on bigger features, and then try to suggest your own ideas, what would be helpful for your work, So basically, when you're starting as a contributor, you're always looking at the product and code and features and how it may help you at your work or others at work, but basically contributing code and contributing features to it and making the product bigger. And I would suggest doing those things that are meaningful for you, because then you extend it actually for you, so you will do it the best way you can and then use it actually. So this is how I started with CLI. As first one, it was my urge to learn, and then it kicked off as a product I use daily now. And when you start contributing more and adding new features, sooner or later you're gonna run out of ideas that are actually for you, and you're start thinking, okay, what this product can do actually more, and maybe start adding ideas that are not relevant to your case but could be relevant to other people. And this is when you start thinking and changing your approach from not thinking about only features and code that are for you and for your case, but thinking about people in general. And this is really something what for sure an MVP should do and maintainer of a product should do. So if you want to be engaged more, become maybe a maintainer of something, or become in future MVP. But of course, MVP, it's not, you won't get, I think, an MVP status if you're only contributing to one single product and you're like building it up. You should be more broader spectrum a bit about sharing your knowledge and giving to others. But basically, for example, if you want your direction is to become a maintainer, for sure, you have to flip the script a bit to start thinking about the product itself and how you can help it progress so it can be better for others. This is the way to go.
How easy is that change of view? Because like in the past, you've always worked on projects, right? That are, fixed, finite engagement. You come, there's a start, there's a goal, you ship it, and you're gone, and you more than often never see it again. Whereas here, you're working on a product that's kind of never done. So how easy was it for you to shift the mindset? And it's like, okay, I'm going to be working on something that is ever evolving, never done. And I am here to stay, and I will look at it through the lens of adding features, but also so ever improving what is there.
I think maybe kind of refreshing, because the project is always this idea that you're building something up and you're putting your heart to it. I really love coding, and I really like the thing of what I'm doing. And when you're, like I said, when you're participating, so as a freelancer, I take full-fledged project on my own, or I join a team for a little while, let's say, or a longer while. And I either bring some additional skills they don't have, or just be an additional person on keyboard to bring this additional coding power so we can meet the deadline, But then it's always you put so many heart to it. You try to make it the best thing currently now for the client to solve this case, and then you move on, maybe to a different product. Maybe after some time you come back, or you have some SLA thing or stuff like that. But basically, yeah, it's kind of that you leave it. It works. It serves its purpose. They're using it. And there are more challenges that are to come. And this is kind of daunting. I think this is really a challenge. When you are a maintainer of a single product that you're building all the time, for me, it's actually refreshing. And it's cool to see that all this time I'm working on a new thing. And, just 2 years ago, it was only this. And now it can do this. And we changed the initial behavior, like even the interactive mode, which is default now in CLI. At the beginning, you had to be maybe like you need to get used to it, CLI. You need to know the command you want it to run. You need to search for docs. You need to either know how to write this command or use help all the time. Now CLI helps you as default, so it will ask you questions proactively. Are you looking for that? Maybe you want to do this. Hey, if you want to run this command, you need to have those options. And we have even tooling that will guide you, additional tooling. So we have Chili, an AI assistant in console, in terminal. You can use it. It's mind-blowing. And you have even VS Code extensions, that will help you find and don't switch context. So you're or in your VS Code or either in terminal. This is really cool, to see the product evolve.
One more thing I wanted to ask you, something that popped in my mind, and that's kind of related to working on CLI and like being involved for a longer period of time. One of the things, talking from my own experience, that it made me like when you stick for a longer period of time and you work on something bigger than just a few lines of code, scale. Do you recall your first experience refactoring something at scale, like an app at scale, and how that changed your perspective to things that we do at Microsoft?
Well, there's always a change, and I think you just have to accept it. You will never foresee it. It's impossible, and even looking at how SharePoint evolved as a product, SharePoint was a hype of the age of intranets, like Copilot is the current hype, and hypes are good because they bring technologies that will stay. They are at that moment actively maintained and evolving and bringing a lot of features. So back, I would say 2010, 2013, 2016, SharePoint was the big deal and the game changer. There, it is still now, because many clients need actually, not maybe a chatbot, but a business application that solves this case. But anyway, even then it changed a lot. So think of that when it was 2010, and it was the feature model, then in Sandbox, and then you jump to add-in model, and then with 2016, the modern experience and the SPFX was introduced. So you just cannot foresee it all. And even the jump between the add-in model and, basically the .NET-based technologies like the web parts, the event receivers, all of the stuff, to SPFX, which is like kind of front-end based, TypeScript kind of thing. So jumping even like a language-based, you just cannot foresee it. And you just have to be able to adapt. And this is also, I think, a really important skill for a freelancer or a developer, something like this, basically, something what I do, is to be able to adapt and accept that you will have to adapt. You will have to change. So new things will come, and sooner or later, maybe the thing you've built, if you want, and it's important for you, you will need to refactor it, rebuild it to make it working in the future for others. If it was a project for the client, maybe it's good enough to leave it in this technology if this solves this case, because we always need to remember that when you are working on a project, it's important that it solves some case, solves some business needs, and brings some refund. It's basically working and they're using it. It doesn't always have to be the latest and greatest and have mesh with Bitcoin in it and you chatting with Copilot about it, So it's everything is cool and it brings opportunities, but the important thing is that it solves its case. When it comes to CLI, we are here thinking about what it can do to help in general many spectrum of features and ideas, and how it can how it can help other people doing their job or other companies doing the things they do easier. The things they do, it can be anything, from Power Platform area to SharePoint area to maybe a new way to use CLI, not only in your terminal, but maybe in your app, and Node.js app, as your single API that does it all, So I think it's always a challenge, And if you have to change one line of code and change thousands of line of codes, of course it's challenging, But you just have to be able to do it and just be, ready for this adoption,
And thinking that
just
coming back
have fun with it, right?
Well, that's a good mentality on not being blocked on anything and adapting. And then yes, we all get frustrated every now and then on a changes, but change is the only thing that's just evident. And then rather be like, okay, cool, new changes bring always positive dimensions as typically as well. So it's good to keep that mindset moving forward. Now on the scale,
but generally yes.
yeah, absolutely. And it might be that in the short term you get frustrated on, oh my God, why is this change coming? But then afterwards. Yes, we'll move my cheese. Yes, indeed. Now coming on back on the scale, and if we think about CLI is a really good example of something what you're installing on client side, and then you're operating things, and that brings an interesting dimension because I still, I don't know why, but I'm still closely involved with SharePoint Online, PowerShell, and see some which is horrible things to say out loud. But there's an interesting, scale dimension on that as well, because people, for example, even in Microsoft, forget about that if they change server-side code which the CSAM is using, there's no way for them to forcing all of the clients which installed the client-side SDKs to get updated. And there's no solution on, hey, we're just going to share a blog post or announcement that, hey, now you need to update. And that's not an option because nobody can do things. So
in other words, again, it isn't SaaS app where you push a change and it's on. Like you have a client dependency.
Now, at some moment of a time, because I don't know why we are talking about this one, but it's a good example of a different architectural thing. Some moment of a time, like 5 years ago or while back, we were thinking on the PnP PowerShell and PnP provisioning engine to actually do it as a centralized service. So, and what it means is that we would have a client-side operations and client-side tooling and the commandlets and APIs, which would actually hit our service in Azure, and then that service does the translation to the server side or the product services. The cool thing about that one is that then you can actually do significant level of changes in that middle tier, even though the client tier. But then it starts getting incredibly complicated. All of the versioning, everything else, it's like, oh,
you have an API, like you version your template, and you need to make that forever backwards compatible, which is even harder.
Absolutely, but again, there's so many different architectures and approaches where people are taking and then evaluating them and making the right decision.
What's really cool about all of that is that, at least to me, being involved in changing and refactoring things at scale is the one thing that I learned is that there's no such thing as just change it. There's no just in there. It's hard. It requires a lot of work, and it's also the mindfulness of, we're going to break folks. What's the experience? How are we bringing them along, as opposed to, we're going to throw something at you and your stuff that works on Monday will no longer work on Wednesday.
Yeah, just figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. What is the one thing that we all hate?
Yeah.
You do the same thing that you used to do, and now it no longer works, and you have no idea why. And some things that you haven't asked for no longer works.
That's right, and that's
I
why
can get really animated about it.
Yeah, but that's where you need to put proper guidance, maybe some migrate tools. So basically the help that is needed, it's also important for the client or for the other folks to also keep up to date, because if you keep outdated for very long time, if someone would want to jump now from SharePoint 2010 to 2019, or I think it would be easier just to rewrite everything to online, because making this progress, if you wait it out for very long time, it's gonna be really hard. So I think it's also important for not only the maintainers, but also the clients to keep kind of updated. Maybe not to the latest and greatest always, but kind of not leaving at the very end of the line. And it's important for every company or software provider like Microsoft to just accept it and just give also, not only taking on new features and look, now we have this thing, it does all of those cool stuff and you can use this, but if you are using the latest technology, but also giving, those guidance, manuals, migrate tools, upgrade tools. That's why it's all needed.
So absolutely.
And all of that helps significantly on educating people, but still people will get angry and frustrated because you move their cheese. So how do you so any thoughts, Adam, on how do you deal with that negative feedback? Because we do get that as an open source, well, especially as a Microsoft person. Recently, I'm not going to go to too much detail, but we needed to kill lookbook.microsoft.com. Not a fun thing to do. And we know that people don't like it. And most likely, most of the people hearing about this one, if they're listening this podcast, will be like, wait, what? And if you write lookbook.microsoft.com, it doesn't exist anymore.
Lookbook, I have my book, it looks okay. But anyway, so you must have read my email, right?
for those people who've been using some of these services and they kind of assume that it keeps on being there in the future, or as an open source maintainer, we get a lot of negative feedback as well. How do you deal with that? How do you see that from a maintainer perspective?
This being open. It's open source for a reason, and just being empathetic, feeling empathy, being friendly, and being open, and being polite. And of course, I get negative feedback, and every open source maintainer of something sooner or later will get something negative, even at work. Even you do a lot of effort for a project and you show it to the client and they say, oh, it's not usable. Look, this button is like 2 pixels off, I cannot click it. There will always be some negative feedback. I hate it. It looks awful.
Yes.
There will always be some negative feedback. And I think, it's important for you as a receiver of negative feedback not to step into this loop of just pointing whose fault is that and stuff like that. Maybe if you even have a problem to deal with it, just step back. We are working virtually. If it's not on a call, you don't have to answer in this minute. Take a perspective, take a walk, think about it.
You can just drop the call and say, okay, fine.
No, I need to drop. I'm driving through a tunnel, but think usually the other person from the other side. I think when they go back home, they're playing with their kids or family stuff. I'm almost positive they are friendly people and polite, and they're just being negative because of pressure, because of stress, because of things they have to do now, and they cannot do it because something is blocking them, and they want you to help them, but they don't do it maybe in a good way, like asking for it but demanding it. And this stuff happens when the pressure level is really high and stress is really high. And pressure is also a good thing because it shows that you really want to do something and it's important for you. So it's not that the pressure and the feeling of stress and you want to do something done right now and quickly is not a bad feeling, but you just need to show maybe pass it on to a person that will help you in a positive way. That doesn't always happen. Not everybody, people know how to do it, and they can give you negative feedback, and of course it can hurt. But just take a step back, think about it. Always try to be in the shoes of the other person. That okay, maybe he's at work, maybe he had some bad experience using a product, and now he demands his help. And also in open source, we always need to remember we usually maintainers do it for free, right? So it's always, that if you are demanding some bug fix it doesn't work this way. Yeah, usually the maintainer will ask for your help, for your opinion, your feedback, or at least when the bug is fixed, to test it out. It's like one experience that someone was really demanding a fix really quick, and I done it really quick, like over the night. And then he didn't test it out for the next 2 weeks. So I was like, oh man, I guess it was really important, And this stuff happens.
But you don't know what happened. Maybe they had a family crisis, or maybe there's something else happened.
Yeah, so, for sure.
So
this stuff happens, and you just need to always try to see and look for the positive side, even in those negative experience, even in those negative feedback, and be totally open about it. So you didn't drop Lookbook because you wanted to, like, we're gonna do this thing and let's see the world burn.
So make everybody angry.
Yeah, it's not that Satya went on the Lookbook floor and said, okay, shred everything, shred it. Lookbook doesn't exist anymore. I think it was for a specific reason, and maybe some security things, or maybe an improvement that will come sooner or later, or just a refactoring of a product. So evolve happen, and as I said, you need to be able to adapt as a developer and as a client.
Sure. Good guidance, actually, for sure. And I know that Waldek has been giving his fair share of feedback from the community and all of that. But again, I'd say, well, my classic guidance is always be kind and don't get involved. So don't get, the immediate reaction might be answer back, attack, defend. But it's like, no. Step back, go and walk in the forest for a while and come back. So that typically helps.
Yeah,
that's
why take the dog for a walk. That's why you do it every time,
Exactly. True.
Yeah, I see your tweet. Walking with the dogs. Now, he read my email. Yeah.
Yeah, he's walking. Now that you know about it, like, he's walking in the forest a lot.
Yeah, every time. Every time I send an email,
Yeah, like, not again, that guy.
I'm a big Formula 1 fan. I just saw yesterday a video where Valtteri Bottas, who was driver in Mercedes, now in Sauber or Kick F1, whatever, and he was saying that the number one tip what he got when he started in Formula 1, first from Mika Häkkinen, two-time world champion back in '99 and '98, that whenever you get frustrated, go to the forest. Whenever you feel that you cannot, go to the forest. Nature charging with the nature, go to the forest. And actually, I have no idea that he has the similar kind of a mental mindset, but that's why I walk in the forest for like a while.
Forest, dude. That's why.
You cannot recharge. That you have the forest in the jar. We were talking about.
Nature charging.
Yes. But I don't fit there, so I can just put it in my hand. I can just
exactly.
So you can only relax your hand.
Yes, exactly.
No, but it's nature. I think you have nature outside of you. That's
nature or whatever works. Everyone has their own kind of way to recharge. I think Waldek, you play the guitar. I don't know, somebody else plays the computer games or whatever.
Yep.
And just find this time to recharge. Yeah, I think in my case, I think it's playing with the kid. It's like being with him, seeing him evolve, and this is so awesome. It makes me like totally disconnected about nothing else exists. Only
and
him
then he'll grow up,
life,
review your PRs, give you feedback on your code.
I hope not. I hope that the coding and developing will evolve to a different kind of level where we'll be speaking with computer and not. He'll be looking at my stuff and he was, what's actually this? This is code.
Punching cards, Dad. Punching cards.
What?
Punch cards. Anybody? Punch cards.
Like A, B, C. So did you had D sharp and then E sharp? Like, no, man, no. It's object oriented. What?
Now, I guess we need to start closing up on the timing. That actually, so where do you see the development to be in 10 years? Just out of
10 years.
Well, 10 years. Or do we do 20? 10 or 20? 20 years. Let's do 20 years.
Or 277.
Where are we evolving with all of this AI and C# and TypeScript and all of this stuff? So how do you see this space to evolve? And let's do a quick round in here because just out of fun.
Out of fun. Okay, well, I'll start then.
Yes.
I had my hand up first. First. So I think it will evolve maybe to some natural experience, like thinking even like raising a kid. Like kid grows up, at the very beginning he's learning your kind of, or people in general, kind of way to communicate, and you're learning him a bit. And I think this is what we are doing with technology every day, so it has the compute power, it has the memory and all of this stuff, all of this enormous things that it can give us, but we need to somehow communicate. Until now, even like also with a kid, he makes up his own words, and you get the feeling how to talk with him to have this, okay, now we communicate, now we click, we can move on. With IT is the same. We thought of code, we developed code. It doesn't matter what kind of code. You can be successful with any kind of coding, not Python. Okay, no, just joking. Any kind of coding language, Java, Python, TypeScript, C#, whatever you do, as the way you communicate, and this will adapt, change, and be more natural. So as technology grow up and become mature, and as the kid grow up and become mature, that the way you communicate becomes more complex, but also more mature, like you're speaking with it. And I think this is kind of what will happen, and it already happens. So even the Power Platform side is like you are dragging, dropping, you are writing complex formulas that look exactly like code, but you are generating those formulas, or the formulas are when you're reading a formula, it's like reading a sentence. It's not like reading and mathematics like sometimes in C# in backcode when you're really, really low. And this will evolve over time. So now after that, you are able to make a picture of a drawing, and it creates your app, and you just change the colors and it works, right? Of course you have to change the colors. And then it's easy to anticipate at least the next couple of years. I think 10 years, sorry, it's impossible. But in the age of, I wouldn't say AI, but LLM, it's when we translate and when we start speaking. And it's still not perfect, you see, because there's still a concept of prompt engineering, which I think sooner or later will go away when Copilot will get better in understanding us. Now it's kind of good, but still you need to be good at prompts to help it and help you, So it's still not the same level of speaking. It doesn't know you totally, it doesn't have all of this context. Maybe it will change. Maybe in the near future, everyone will have Copilot like here in its ear, and it will understand you all the time. And it will, when you are in the kitchen and when you're coding, it will change. Okay, now you code, and now I help you with coding. And I think it will be exactly this. So from a low level code to a bit higher level code to like object oriented to a bit some tooling that is around it, like formulas, reading sentences, dragging, dropping, taking pictures of your app, to finally speaking. And then maybe it will read your mind. You wake up, you were dreaming, and you wake up during the night, and you see the laptop, building. Visual Studio is debugging, and it was like, oh no, I wasn't thinking about that.
Don't delete everything. Don't drop the table. Don't drop the database.
Shred lookbook, shred everything. Like
so the I have to come back on to something. I'll come back. We'll recap the 10-year vision and completely agree on natural language thing as well. And Power Platform already has
back
this
in 10 years on the show, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Power Platform already has that. Give me the blah blah blah, this kind of thing, and it gets you something. Well, we used to have something similar actually, even in Visual Studio back in 2012. Toolbox and drag and drop. Did we actually use them? Debatable. Again, it's getting better and better. Now, but something much you said there, which is really interesting, the context, and we talked about the context and prompt engineering in the show in the past. But the recall in the Windows, there was a really interesting discussion, kind of a panel discussion which was recorded, which I saw during the weekend, which is it Marquis? Anyway, the technology people talking about the recall and the value of recall. But if you think about the Windows recall, which has a privacy challenges, which we know probably if you've followed up on what's happening in the industry, the key value of the Windows recall was that it's taking screenshots of what you're doing in every 5 seconds. That was basically the promise, and then you can go and ask from the computer that, hey, wait a minute, I had a look on some cool trailer last week about blah, 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 and it's able to answer you that because it has the context. So the context here is being the key. And the really cool thing about the recall idea is that it will then actually understand what you do, who you are, what do you spend your time on based on the information, what it has in your computer. But then we have the challenge of privacy as well with that, because then the computer and AI has so much context of you that if somebody can actually access on that context, then there's a privacy concern. But that's how we could, it's kind of a solves that context thing, because it knows then more about you. How do you work? What kind of code do you actually write? What is the style of the code you're writing? Because it's capturing all the time that information as well.
Yeah, I think this is with every new tech, and every new things that it, in general, it proposes capabilities and, like things that will come and opportunities and risks. It's always like this. And it's just a level, if the risk is bigger or opportunity is bigger. And when you need to find and look for the opportunities in a good way, of course, you need to focus on the risk and you need to consider them. But it's always like, taking this balance. If it's the opportunity I want or if it's the risk I'm afraid of, that's why I'm not using it. And I think it's always to look for the good examples. Like even now the Copilot, like it's changing, like the camera is becoming your input, not only the thing you type or speak to it, and it's an awesome thing to see, this evolve and how it can now see you, and this becomes your context. And it was presented like an MS build, and I would say, unfortunately, rubbish example, like buying shoes. I have sandals. Are they good for a winter hike? I mean, come on. I don't want to see those Copilots. I wouldn't like to see when I'm entering a store another Copilot that gives me a red jacket. Why burn all those trees and use this huge LLM model just to look for the right color, But what you should see, what us developers should see in this example, and I think what was the Microsoft idea to present, and I was even talking with Rashmi, I think 1 week ago about this, that brings the opportunity. Let's say a blind person, a person with seeing problems enters a shop, and it stops in front of the screen and waves, and Copilot say, "Hey, I see you waving. What's up?" And then it says, the person says in sign language like, "I want to buy shoes." What else, right? And then this is the way, this is the new input, and it breaks the boundaries. And this is the awesome opportunity for this new input that's now seeing and helping people that use sign language to actually communicate with it. And this is the thing, we as developers should look for opportunities, but we of course should be aware of risks. So it's a balance always,
Yep. 10 years, Waldek. Do we want to talk about that one quickly?
I think so. I am on a.
This is going to be a long show.
No, not at all. So I think that natural language will not replace development, and the reason for that is that language is very ambiguous, and that's exactly why it's so hard to work with LLM to really express what we mean. And the way we go about it is that we introduce vocabulary that is very explicit. Programming language. I can program, when I write something, it's unambiguous. It's a loop, it's a condition, it's a check. If we remove all of that, replace it with natural language, then it becomes really murky. Like, what do you mean exactly? And that's actually why you not always get what you want from LLM, because it isn't clear. And it's just not really like we are really not accustomed to it, because that's not the way we interact. Like as human beings, like we fill the gaps a lot, and machine cannot just do that, period. So I think that programming language will not replace development. On the other hand, what we will see is, I think, the low-code solutions, or it will be easier for non-traditional, non-pro developers to build apps that solve their need, that are good enough. So we will see,
Is it that development then? Just no.
No, it isn't. So no, when I say development, to me, that's being pro dev. So to me, that is being dev. Everything else, like if you write formula in Excel, are you a dev? No, you're not. And yes, formula can be very elaborate. You're kind of coding, but no, to me, that's not dev. Dev is like really like you're programming a machine. In a sense, you're writing code. To me, so that is how I look at dev, right? And so I think that, and that's already something that we've seen over the last years, where, with Power Apps, Power Platform, that non-pro devs get more and more powerful tools to build solutions that solve their needs in a good enough way. So I think that we will see a huge evolution in that, which will also means more, like, call it a sprawl of apps, solutions, that somebody will need to at some point keep track of, because those things
maintenance
will
and
naturally
governance
have access to all kind of data and insight in the org.
Yep.
Maybe on behalf of the user who created it. right? So I think that will be challenging part. And I think the evolution of AI and LLM, I think that will create a lot of new opportunities, Adam, like you said, around like basically being a better interface, richer interface between a human and a machine.
Yeah. And one thing on top of that, maybe it's a good way of thinking. Sorry for saying that, but it isn't like the old way of thinking. Maybe it will change over time.
It is a very old way of thinking. I'm old. I represent.
I also have the gray hair here. But
see, no gray hair.
Okay, we'll get to back later on in next episode. But anyway, when new like, well, for example, my kid will grow up, new how to say it, I forgot
generation.
New generation will grow up, and new ways will become easier to create good enough apps. Will be this, okay, now it's maybe half or development of like making products in general, maybe it's half low code, no code, doesn't matter actually. The aim is to have a good enough product, or at least a thing that works, and solves your case. When this low code approach, stacking approach, new generation will see this is easier to get me to my goal. This will bring more and more products, and there will be less and less here pro code. That means also pro code, maybe investments, and this evolving will maybe slow down, because this will be harder to learn, harder to abstractly think about why I need to learn this if the computer already understands me in this way,
Well, yes and no. So I think we're trying to say the same thing. I think that we will see, like, because now, I think the ideal marker for that is, will we need to center a div on a page in 10 years' time?
No, we still have.
I don't know. Like,
from a requirement perspective, requirements still exist. Now, will we as a humans need to do that? That's a separate discussion.
Right now, we still do it, and it's still hard, right? Yeah. So I think that is really like the cool thing to do. But I think if anything else, because creating good enough apps will be easier, we will see more of them, and things that are pro code now will become low code then.
Yeah,
which can mean two things: fewer need for devs, meaning fewer things being done, or because now non-developers can solve their own problems. Developers and companies who have developers have more room to do other things, richer things. So if anything else, I think the demand for pro devs will only increase. But these folks will do other things than things they do now.
Yeah. More complex.
Yes, definitely. So
and I think you are
really benefit from their skills as opposed to entering a div.
Yeah, I think you are saying exactly the same thing. But and I think we have this gap of, what was it, like millions of new developers needed to be able to achieve all of the business application needs and all of that stuff.
Developers.
Yeah,
there you go.
That gap can be addressed by increasing the productivity of an individual developer, or increasing the technical skilling of the business users, so they're able to enable those simple solutions and make them. Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we certainly see here. So the low code, no code definitely will remain. Absolutely agree on that one, and that the ratio in there, but the development will not go away, because somebody needs to also write the low code, no code tooling. So it's like, that we're always going to have developer needs still behind the scenes as well.
And there are still apps that are too complex for a no code, low code things, where things like latency and caching are important, where you truly 100% need to understand a machine.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't think we're going to see reduction of the need of the developers. We're going to see evolvement or evolution of the developers, and a spectrum of developers
doing developing things.
Developer things, yes, indeed. Now, let's do a quick round of. We are way over time, but it's okay. Let's do a quick round on what's happening this week, and then I think this is the last episode of the season. We're going to talk about.
Which is why it's extra long. It's a double episode.
Yes, double episode, and it's with Adam, so it's a really good exception. And we didn't even touch the SPFX toolkit, by the way. So thank you for absolutely brilliant work on that one. But what's happening this week? Anything interesting on your table?
Yeah. So this week for me started overnight, as always. I think at somewhere around 1 a.m. I released a blog post about the SPFX Toolkit 3.3. So we have a SPFX Toolkit in the recording at least. So yes, of course, working. of course, playing with the kid and being a parent, this is like my priority, and then being a dev. But in dev-wise and IT world perspective, and the things I can say, because contracts usually have restrictions. So in the open source world, it's getting closer to the end of the month. So realistically, we have like 10 more days before we do a code freeze in CLI. That's why this week, for sure, my main focus at least is CLI for Microsoft 365 and more improvements, merging PRs, thinking about the product, what we can deliver till the end of the month, and making this experience the best in class for the contributors that want to help us. So generally for people, the people that will use it and people that help us build it. SPFX Toolkit, of course, as well, and this is my passion and a new thing that I'm hyped about. And it's awesome that
we're talking about thousands and thousands of installs already on it. I was just checking the statistics.
Cool.
It's actually skyrocketing, which is really, really cool. So awesome.
And we're getting also contributors about it. So it's really awesome to see that other folks are seeing this advantage and helping us build the best SPFX tooling in the world. So yeah, this, as always, will be my main area of focus, which is CLI more this week for sure than SPFX Toolkit, but both of those as well, and many things around it. I have so many products I want to still introduce and ideas, and also the CLI VS Code extension that I need to move to the PnP org, and there's the backlog doesn't stop, and it's always too big for 1 week
that is true.
For every night in this week, because I usually do it
scale.
over the night. Yeah. And then the night is just so short, and
yeah. If you move to the North Pole, you'll have very long nights.
That is true.
More time for open source.
Not on summertime though, because then the sun doesn't actually go down at all.
You gotta be on the sun
yes,
south
exactly. If you anyway, so Waldek, what's on your table this week? So
I'm spending some more time. So last weeks we've shipped quite a few or several new features for Dev Proxy, including simulating AI LLMs. Right. So if you're building an app and you want to simulate LLM, you use LLM, you don't need to always, burn through the tokens you've got and incur the usage on the actual LLM service, right? So instead, you can use Olama on the local box and use it for free. And of course, like there are, caveats to that. It's not the same as the real one, but we believe that for many things, it's going to be good enough. So we have now this ability in Dev Proxy to emulate LLMs. We're working on a few ideas around integrating with API Center. I'm spending last week and this week, I think I'm going to spend to write it all up in docs, right? Kind of explain what we've shipped, because otherwise, like, we build all this cool stuff and then we don't tell anybody. So did the tree fall? So in the past, I used to blog a lot, and I realized I still write. I just put it on the docs because that's where it belongs. So, but it's no longer on my own blog. I still try to get the ideas as much as we can, because that's really key, to get it out there, tell everybody what we've got and make it accessible, like help people to help us, right?
100%. I think that's that. And well, let's come back on what I'm doing this week in a second, but that's something what I've been trying to push internally heavily, and it probably may have seen a few videos related on feature demos and features which we're releasing, and not technology and not writing code. And the only reason why I ended up doing them is that, I'm trying to teach internally for feature PMs and the organization that it's incredibly important that whenever you're shipping something, not just drop the ball on shipped, checked, move on. It's like, okay, that's cool. Somebody needs to tell people what you're shipping, because we're shipping so cool stuff. But if we don't communicate, if we don't promote them, if we don't do social media, if we don't do blogging and also documentation, how would people know? They wouldn't. By an accident, one or two people will run into that cool feature, but we need to make that buzz to be able to people understand. And by the way, Adam, you're a brilliant example of communicating, because there is no in real world, the people are saying, but we're flooding social media. And it's like, no, you don't. People, follow 57,000 other accounts, and the fact that if you're putting one repeating a bit changing message on every day or every other day, it's their choice to actually see that from you. It's not flooding, it's educating people on what's happening and the opportunities and communicating, which is incredibly important. And for me, for example, for this semester, it's been more on communication, YouTube videos and all of that. Not that I really want to do that, but then somebody needs to do that. It's an interesting, you need to choose your battles on what you do. So
yeah, build up the value and show the value, right? And everybody is busy, so make it easy for them,
Yes. Consume and catch the value on. For me this week, which kind of relates on something what I did during the weekend, and of course, open source community is interesting. Why are we working through weekends? Well, it is what it is. I'm heading to a pretty long vacation, but I produced 48 videos during the weekend. It's because again, the community demos, which we have on the community calls, we need to get them published individually so we can promote people like Adam and other community people who are doing the demos. It was a pretty boring setup in the end. After 10, it's like, yeah, this is fine. After 20, it's starting to get a bit boring. How many do I still need to go through? Exactly.
Counting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm striving to do one, so I'm like, I need to rethink my life now.
No, but that's not me and my demos. It's the demos which we get from the community calls, and we just need to make them scheduled. And yes, we're using, in some of this work, we're using vendors, but in this time, it's just, as I'm heading to a 5 weeks long summer vacation, starting from Thursday this week, then I just need to get stuff scheduled and done. So, bit of a bummer. And I start feeling bad about actually having that vacation. I think it's the empathy gene, which we talked about a bit about, but it's like I already start feeling bad about ending the vacation on Thursday. So it's just
detox. It's called detox.
I know, and I need to do that to be able to, charge batteries even better.
Remember to uninstall Teams from your mobile to really disconnect. I know you're Teams guys.
No such thing. He will bring all devices and chargers. He will bring the 8G to have connectivity.
I'll try.
He will appear on calls.
I'll try. No, I will not be in calls. That's, our family is an important thing as well. So that's something what we always need to remember. And Adam talked about it as well. I have a 12-year-old kid, and we just need to prioritize family as well. So and make sure that we put the family and health first, and then all of the cool open source community stuff as well. So and friends. So.
For sure.
Cool. I guess that was catching up on everything. Then I need to jump to another meeting, which I'm already 10 minutes late because we went a bit long. So it's okay. But
sorry, my bad. You can blame it on me. I had this Polish guy again. He was babbling about the lookbook.
No. All good. These are our people as well. So Luisa Fries is waiting on the other side. She knows that we're running a bit late.
Say
so
hi.
All good. But thank you, Adam, for joining on this one. We will jump to the weekly articles with Waldek, but right from transition from here. But I guess that's it for this show. Thank you, Adam, for joining. Really cool to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam, one more time on the great discussion. And we do apologize for anybody who's watching or listening. Yes, it went long. It went really long.
But it's a double episode. It's a double episode. The last one of the season, we took the liberty to make it double. Like, if you're going to miss us, you will have all the time that we are gone to listen to it. You don't need to do it all at once. It won't be next episode next week.
No, but there was so much good stuff to talk about, and we didn't actually even touch all of the things. And thank you, Adam, for great insights. I think one of the key skills what Adam was talking about there is the empathy of understanding your audience and targeting for the audiences and users and all of that stuff. And that's not just open source. It's also when we're building products, when we are communicating, when we're
when don't you actually need empathy?
That is actually a good question. That is a good question. But it's a really good skill to have, or an area to focus. So.
I know. You don't need empathy if you are by yourself living in a cave.
That sounds so tempting.
Well, you will have the opportunity to do that for the next I don't know how many weeks.
No. I'm family. So not by myself in a cave. So, but yeah, I So for a PM, for open source, for projects, empathy, and thinking through and trying to and doing those interviews with your audience and everything else is super important. Understanding your audience is incredibly important, and that comes back from communication, specification, planning, delivery, guidance. Everything actually comes from the understanding your audience and targeting and using the right terminology, not focused on Northern Hemisphere or not.
Yes, not focusing on the Northern Hemisphere is important.
Yeah.
Today we learned.
What did we learn from the last episode of the season? What did we learn from PnP Weekly? No. Let's jump on the weekly articles and then we wrap up the season. We should actually do a quick calculation of how many years we've been now doing this as we're closing the season. So
as you go, let me do a quick spelunking.
Guys, but I'll actually share my screen and we'll jump on the, on the weekly articles. So not that many news. So for example, for certain areas, we didn't have any news at all. So it's clearly a few weeks after the build announcements, and then we're heading to the summer vacation period. So there's much lower communications from Microsoft as well. But two things to call out. So what's new from Teams Room and Devices in Infocom 2024? Infocom is really for the a seminar for these devices and communications, and we announced features on there as well. And a lot of new capabilities in the Teams. So just summarizing all of those things which were announced. So a lot of cool stuff getting announced in Teams. We also had a blog post related on easily deploy and manage hundreds of Teams rooms on Windows with autopilot and auto logging. And again, for Teams management and Teams automation within the enterprises, you can now more efficiently manage those deployments as well. And more details on that one in the blog post. There was also a really cool change management focused update on the Viva Amplify, which is a Copilot deployment kit. This is actually really cool stuff. And this is, I would say, well, not the first time, but I like the idea of us as a Microsoft providing best practices for content as well. So this is content for the customers to take advantage as they are starting to do the change management required for Copilot. So which is really cool. So ready to use material, ready to use articles, which you can modify, ready to use training material, all of that as part of the Viva Amplify, immediately available in Viva Amplify. And we did record a nice video together with Brit Boston on actually explaining what's available, what's also the future direction, and we touched different kind of topics there as well. So that was a good quick summary, 10-minute summary on which Brit on what's actually available there.
Are you actually aware that very often you're doing this gesture?
Which gesture?
This.
I am?
Yes. I've just seen it in the video. Like, yeah, you're doing this, everything, all encompassing.
These are not the drones. What you're looking for.
There you go. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon. Yeah, at certain moments of the time, I learned to speak with my hands. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it's a bit overboard. But you need to. That's energy,
Yes, you need to. Yes.
These are not the drones you're looking for. Now I need to start. Now I'm starting to pay attention on it too much, and then it's all.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Now we also had a update on Viva Insights, Copilot dashboard update. So this is basically for the Copilot usage details inside of the company. So you can access that kind of information in Viva Insights. Update on that one as well. So how Copilot is being used, what kind of actions being taken, how many prompts, assisted hours, all of that within a single location. This basically is justifying the investment and cost for Copilot, which is smart. So we have this insights in place for people to take advantage in Viva Insight. And then what's new in Power Apps Made 2024 feature update from Clay Visioner. So that's basically summary on that one. This is a bit older one. I don't think we covered this one the last time, so making sure that we actually covered that one. But a lot of new stuff in the Power Apps also every single month, which is great, like with any other applications as well. Now on the community blog site, SPFX Toolkit with Adam Wójcik. We didn't talk about this one too much during our interview because we ran out of time. But this is one of the great examples which Adam has been driving for a long time now. And it's behind the scenes is actually taking advantage of CLI for Microsoft 365 and the out-of-the-box Yeoman generator. But it's creating a wrapper on top of that with a lot of additional support for people to take advantage, from the Copilot support and AI support to the samples and all of that, and validation of your environment. So what's really cool about this one is that we're seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of installations on this one now. So it's getting actually that hockey stick moment is starting to go, which is awesome to see. And yes, internally we're looking into how can we support this one more efficiently from Microsoft side, because people are creating awesome tooling, and we need to make sure that we as a Microsoft value and acknowledge that work as well.
And I think it's also a great example to see like how the tooling that we being community, including MVPs, community members of Microsoft, how the tooling stacks, right? So there are, the basic things that you can use. There are things that we put on top that enrich that, and put things on top that enrich that. So if you want the rich experience, you can use that. If you don't want it, there's always the baseline that you can use just fine, and you can tailor it to your needs. Like there's nothing like all or nothing. You can basically pick and choose like what experience do you prefer, and use that to your advantage. And if you choose, if you don't like IDE and you want to code in Vim, you still can. We don't take anything away from you. You still have everything available. But if you choose to use VS Code and you like that experience, you get to benefit from that too, all the way to benefiting from AI. So I think this is really great example to see like how we can stack things to benefit from different features that are available and offer more.
Yep, absolutely. And it's kind of the maturity of the community as well, as we built the baseline CLIs, and then we built more and more and more, and then we aggregate all of those features into these VS Code extensions, which is really, really cool. It's kind of a pyramid. These are not the drones you're looking for. Anyway, anybody who's listening to the podcast will be like, what are they? This or not. Anyway, so Build Bear had a blog post related and Build Better connected content-centric apps with SharePoint Embedded, talking about the value and added on value what the SharePoint Embedded is actually providing on the table, how it works, and also references all of the different documentation and starting points for the SharePoint Embedded. I think there's a lot of SharePoint Embedded has a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of confusion related on what is it and what you can do with it. And it's something what we need to potentially adjust basically a bit on the messaging, so people understand what's it for actually. So that there's always this, how would I put this? There's always this classical challenge of people thinking a bit too much or making impression, and then they get disappointed, and then they get disappointed on the product, even though it wasn't the product's fault, but they had something else within their mind. So you need to manage the expectations wisely, especially when you roll out the first versions, and then you start piling in on top of that baseline. So we also had an update from Peter Venstra related on set SharePoint item level permissions using Power Automate. Really, really cool stuff as well. Automating stuff in Power Automate, brilliant, and explaining the values which we're going to hit in the REST API. So that's good. Great reference blog post. And there was also from Tony Francola, who was in the show few episodes back, how to navigate Microsoft Copilot pricing and packaging maze. So how much things are actually costing and what are all of the different offerings which are available. Now, this looks a bit complicated. I'm pretty sure that sooner or later, I don't have any insights, or I cannot confirm or deny anything here, but we'll get all of this a bit more clarified on what's where and all of that, because there's just too much for people to manage and handle. So Paul Bullock had a blog post related on adding that chef's kiss to your team's app descriptions for Copilot. Really, really important thing as well. So as you are implementing your Microsoft Teams messaging extensions, you need to focus on providing sufficient amount of context so that the Copilot understands that that is a potential plugin to take advantage whenever based on the end user intent. I think that one of the classic discussion points we've been having for internally and with you, Waldek, related on how do we make this experience better so that the LLM understands that, oh, this is the Copilot. Now, what if you have 200 different plugins which have overlapping things? Which of them?
It will get really hard. Like it will be interesting. It will get interesting to the point where, well, do you need a Copilot for Copilot to know which plugins to use?
Yes.
So basically, right? Because like when you work with plugins, there are basically two ways to go about it. Like you can either enable them by yourself, like you explicitly say, hey, I wanted to use X, or you include them in declarative copilots, and in there you kind of like because you already include them in the instructions, the user who's going to use it eventually, like they don't need to enable it themselves, but then they need to know that there is the declarative copilot that they can use, right? So you kind of shift the problem to another area. And I mean, in a company of, I don't know, 20, 50 folks, you will probably not have that many. But at our scale, for example, at Microsoft, it will be interesting to see when adoption increases, right? Like, how will we get to it? Because like I assume that we'll get to the point where there will be a few, call it authoritative ones, you know, like basically the HR copilot, the expenses copilot. And then every team, I like on the other extreme, every team will have their own, or maybe you'll even have a personal one. Right, so I think that we will kind of have this whole spectrum of co-pilots available to us.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see how it will move forward within the next 12 months. Now, Martin Lindstoy had a blog post related moving existing content types to the content type hub. Actually quite interesting scenario. So you have your local content types in a site level. You want to actually replace those with the content type hub with the centralized access. So how would you actually do that? What are the options, and how does that actually work in practice? So really cool stuff. And Mark Anderson has been commented in here. Cool. Exactly the people what I was expecting to be involved in and realizing that blog post. So Mark is really good on information architecture, interested on that. Now on the PnP Modern Search, there was a new version, a pre-release version, Modern Search 4.12.1, which is now available. Super widely used set of SPFX solutions to build that enterprise search experience all up. So which is really cool.
It's interesting why 4.12.1 is marked as a pre-release.
From a version semantics perspective, you mean? Okay, yes, that's fair.
Because like fair. That sounds to me like full version, but maybe there is a reason for it.
Yep, maybe there's a reason for it. Kasper Larsen and Mikael Svensson are kind of leading this effort, and a lot of contributions from other people as well. Thank you everybody for that. A few videos. Paolo Pirolosi had a video on using service principals for custom Power Platform connectors. Really powerful scenario as well, as we're building those connectors to access external data within our Power Platform solutions. Steve Corey had a video related on SharePoint versioning fixed finally. So there are new settings in the SharePoint versioning, and you can centrally manage how many versions are being saved, what kind of things are and the settings, and these do impact. Did we cover this last time?
Yeah, I think we covered, because I recall
it might
you
be actually this went live on Tuesday. That is true. This went live on Tuesday last week. That is a mistake.
Doesn't matter. It's still a very good video.
It's a really good video. Thank you, Steve, for explaining that. Now, this is new enough. 2 hours ago, with Message Center guys, Daryl and Daniel, on shape images and SharePoint Copilot time-based responses and all of that. So episode 3337. So all of the updates which are coming in the Message Center. Really cool stuff. And they have such a fancy, video background and all of that on things. Maybe we should upgrade our game.
Yeah, totally. Like we need fancy lighting, better sound, definitely.
Daniel Anderson, which was in a show last week, had a new video related on SharePoint image web part, now custom shapes. And what it means is that you're able to basically do image presentations in a custom shape based on the just drop down and select the action. So
that
super
is really
simple
cool.
way
like
of
how
doing
easily you can do that. Like
exactly.
Not fiddling with some image program to change the image, and then you want to change, you got to go back, edit the image. Like no, you can just clip the layer within the web part and it's done.
Well, nobody should be using any more Adobe software anyway, right? Because of the terms of updates. So therefore, nobody will use any image. You missed the security updates, terms of service updates last week?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll talk about that one in a second. I'll just recap that one. I think they reverted that which is understandable,
Okay.
but I'll explain in a second. But how to use React hooks in SPFX from Sudhar K. Really, really cool. A simple video, a short video again on how would you use React hooks. Matter of a preference to which way you want to actually implement your stuff in SPFX. Some people, Julie and AC had a really long debate on this one, even recorded in the video. Synpraxis had again a new video on forms options in SharePoint and Microsoft lists. So we do have Microsoft Forms, SharePoint Forms, out-of-the-box features, capabilities, blah, 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 Power Apps. What are the things what we can do and what we cannot do? These are not the drawings you're looking for. Now,
all the options.
all the options. Be inclusive.
Yes.
Now, cool. Let's actually flip back in the discussion mode. So the other thing,
yeah,
I have to explain. So apparently last week, for those who haven't followed up on this and maybe in news or tech news, they changed their terms, or was it week before, that they will own rights, unlimited rights to any image which you will store in Adobe Image Cloud.
Wow, I can imagine that rubs well.
Oh yeah, the reaction was like, wait, okay. What? So, and I think there was a good reaction from somebody who, there was a video which I was related on that one on a lunch break, and it was basically, well, what if you are a contractor for some company and using NDA material from that company? Now, when you upload that material to the Adobe Cloud, Adobe claims full access on that material any way they want.
Well, I mean, like NDA aside, like there's enough, copyrighted material for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
Like
all of that. Yeah, exactly. All of that. And of course, we all know why this is. That's for training the LLMs.
AI. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, the things you learn. By the way, at the beginning of the recording, you asked like, for how long have we been doing this show?
Yes,
exactly on the date. 5 years, 11 months.
Okay, and that's for PnP Weekly show, right?
SharePoint Dev Weekly aired. Episode 1 was on 17th of August, 2018. So it's exactly 5 years, 11 months to date.
And unless I'm completely mistaken, we actually have also the PnP webcasts, and PnP that's a different series. Yes.
You mean PnP shorts?
And shorts and with PnP webcasts. Yes, these are different series.
PnP webcasts. I don't recall that.
I think we have the shorts, and then we had the
webcast. Yes, PnP webcast. What was that about?
I think it was you and me, because I saw a reminder from 2016.
Yes, I did. Huh. Yeah, but that's 7 years ago. Wow.
When was the first one? Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a
So they are not sorted by date. So 5 years, 6 years. There are some from 7 years. Interesting. But not. So not all of them are with me. So there are some with Elio, some with. We've got one with Eric Shops, I think. Yeah, so there are different. So it was basically you. It was your show.
Yeah, I think we did so many of which year.
We did a few. We did definitely a few.
Let me actually. So sorry for anybody who's watching. It's like, what are they now talking again? And this is what always happens. But I need to actually playlist settings, and then add on top, and then I will sort this by date published, newest to oldest. The newest is 5 years, and the oldest is 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's 2016. Preparing for SharePoint Framework. What should I learn?
That was with me?
I think that was with you. Yes, wow. That was the first one. And before that, actually, we did stuff even in Channel 9, because we were in Channel 9. And for those actually now historical thing now that I can't remember if we ever shared this, we were actually in Channel 9, and then all of a sudden Microsoft, this policies and politics always happens and changes in roles. They basically said every single video within Channel 9 has to have transcripts. And it's like, well, no, we don't have time and resources for that.
Yeah.
We can. And it's like, well, you have to, or you have to stop them not use channel 9. Okay, I guess we will then not just use channel 9, and then we move to the YouTube. So,
Yeah, and
and
then
that's how our
eventually
own channel came to be. So,
yeah, but then eventually Channel 9 even stopped and we moved to YouTube because we wanted to
Correct.
meet developers and our audience where they already are. So
correct.
even that is interesting.
Yes. Yes.
How
exactly.
things change.
Yeah. Apparently, yes, the first webcast video was with you on 7 years ago, preparing for SharePoint framework. What should I learn? Waldek Mastykarz, MVP, man and the myth.
Yeah. And so 7 years ago, is it when SharePoint framework, the first dev kitchen that I attended? So that was the second one in Europe. That was in April, right? Was it the same year?
Yes, I think it was same year. Yes.
Okay, so basically after the dev kitchen in April, which is kind of like private preview.
Yes, the private preview, and then I think it went public on. Was it actually on the May 4th? Jedi Day, if I remember correctly.
I don't recall that anymore, but yeah, it's been 7 years. Wow.
Yeah. That's all good. It's a good start. We'll keep on doing this. So I guess we're not giving up. So but every now and then you need some rest and time off, and that's what I'm looking for.
Tired.
Yes. No, it's just at least in my case, I'm sad about even recording this. There's so much stuff where I'm getting tracked into and need to deal with and make decisions and all of that. So having a few weeks off on, not dealing with random incoming questions and getting help with this and who knows this? Vesa knows. Okay, sure. Yes, but
yeah, I mean that's the price you pay for being plugged and connected.
I guess so. I still vividly remember when I moved. I was in that same situation when I was in my previous company 18 years ago, but then I transitioned to Microsoft. Was like, I will never be the switchboard, but it's
there you
okay.
go. Well, I mean, if anything else, I think it proves the pattern. It's not the job, it's you. You're welcome.
Yes, I guess I need to be. Don't be nice. Don't be kind. No, just kidding. So no, it's fine. But cool. Thank you, Waldek, for doing all of these years with us. Again, we're not closing in here. We'll get back on August, but a bit of a reshuffling on
season 6, I guess.
Yes, I guess. Depending on how do we count seasons. So
fiscal year?
Sure. Or semester. That is 12.
Well, that's maybe 12. Ooh.
Because that's how the television series goes with the seasons, right? It's always or it used to be semesters.
Really?
Not years.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Who's counting?
Yes, I don't know. Who's counting? Anyway, thank you for Waldek on this one. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. Have a great summertime if you're Northern Hemisphere, wintertime, I guess, if you're Southern Hemisphere, whatever it is. Hopefully you'll have time to rest and charge your batteries. Super important thing. Prioritize family, prioritize health, super important things as well. And the community will be here whenever you will be back, whenever we'll be back. Community will never go away, which is great. During summertime, by the way, Tuesday community calls are on a break starting from the 1st of July and coming back on then 3rd of September. Thursday call series will be executed normally. So we have people, community members and MVPs, David Warner, Hugo Berniaukis, Chris Kent, and so on, hosting all of those calls throughout the summer, which is great. I guess that's it. We'll catch up on what has happened when we're back from the break in August, and it's going to be a massive 3 hours long, not just kidding, episode. But I guess that's it. Thank you, Waldek. Cheers.
Thank you, Vesa. Thank you for another year, and see you folks next season.